Yeah, they're wrecking my country too. They're wrecking Australia, they're wrecking Canada, they're wrecking Germany, they're wrecking Spain. They are everywhere, and they are all part of the same problem. And it scares me. It really does.
Well, that's the communist plan. Wreck society so you're dependent on government, but it's not a dirty little commie down the street. It's big mega bankers that are going to knock out all their competition and set up a world government that's already here. And I can't believe you've got children. I've got children. We've got to beat them.
We've got to beat them. I worry all the time about my children. I worry, apart from anything else, I worry what my children are going to do for a job. Because we are moving into a future where if you have no economic growth, which is the watermelon's plan, they don't like economic growth because it uses these things called scarce resources. Even though we have plenty of resources, we've got shale gas, we've got clathrates below the ocean, we have no shortage of power. But nevertheless, by destroying industrial civilization, which is what these guys want, they have created a future where there are no jobs, no future for our children. And yet they have the hypocrisy to tell us that they are doing it for the children, for generations unborn.
Stay there. I want to do 10 more minutes with you, James. Then we're getting to calls, joining us via video Skype from London. I want to come back and play a Plandopolis video that they show kids in England. Now, this isn't a joke. People watch this and think this is a joke of a dystopic world where you've got to have credits to leave your house. No. This is, they're being open about it. We're going to come back and play this clip. Now, you'd think this is a joke. This is not a joke. And this is exactly what they're calling for, the UN, a global food council. It's just amazing. James Delingpole, they've gone from denying this is their plan. Just 5 years ago, I have the clips. Al Gore would say, there's no plan for a carbon tax. He'd go, what? What are you saying? How dare you say this is a tax? You know, that fake angry thing he does. To now going, absolutely, taxes, pay me the money. I mean, these people are just so naked about what they're doing.
Alex, I am gobsmacked. OMG is all I can say to that extraordinary clip. And you're right. Do you remember, was it Lisa Jackson who was talking about how we were all going to have our showers and our showers rationed? They call it smart growth. Smart growth is actually rationing, but in anyone else's book. We had the leader of our Green Party in Britain, Caroline Lucas, who was talking about putting Britain back on a war footing. And what she wanted was a return to the days when the government made our decisions for us about what we could eat, about all the healthy food, which is so good for us.
No. The BBC actually had scientists on last year and said we all need ration cards that track our calories, what they were just saying right there. And now they admit, we're going to take your kids if they're overweight. We'll decide. If your kids are shy, we're going to take them. You know, there's all this other oppression, too. I mean, these are systematic tyrants.
Yeah. And, you know, Alex, if you came over to Britain, I think you would be shocked by how abject the populace is now. So few people in this country are freaked out by what is going on. So many of them accept it as normal. In the same way, I imagine that after a time in Nazi Germany, people got used to all the rules and regulations and the disappearances and stuff. You know, it's one of the facts of life you just had to accept to get on. But these are worrying times.
Well, they're saying now, every pundit, Soros, you name it, give our private banks that sold you the derivatives total control over Europe and pass VAT and carbon taxes and pay us or face a depression. And so we're now under this financial global dictatorship run by cold-blooded bankers that are going to use enviro-cultism as the cover for austerity slavery. And the only thing that can stop them is getting the word out to people. I hope people in England and the U.S. and other places realize every time we give in to them, they don't take their boot off our neck. They stomp that much harder.
Well, Alex, you know, when I wrote my book Watermelons, I started writing it about a year ago. And I was writing about all this New World Order stuff. I was reading the Bibles of the Green Movement, you know, like Rachel Carson, the world's biggest mass murderer, probably the 20th century, with her banning of DDT, thus condemning lots of people to death from malaria. I read about these people, about Paul Ehrlich, about the Club of Rome, and I thought all this stuff was kind of in the future. But the future is happening now. All the scary things that I describe in Watermelons are coming true. This economic collapse was brought about by well-meaning Greens who just wanted to make the world a better, fairer place, just to save the environment. And they persuaded so many ordinary people that this was a good cause worth supporting. And so many people still believe these lies, which unfortunately is why we're in this mess. Not enough people are resisting because, hey, we all want the world to be nicer and greener and fairer, don't we? Well, none of it looks like Al Gore's vision. None of it looks like the Prince of Wales' the Club of Rome's vision. None of it's what Maurice Strong wants, because this is hell on earth. In the name of saving the planet, these guys have created hell on earth.
Well, when you get around these professor types like Eric Pianka at UT and others, they get wild-eyed when they talk about everyone's going to die. The airborne Ebola is coming. Oh, we've got to do this. And then you find out that they're involved in all these calls to put things in the food and water to sterilize us. It's a guild of just murderous control freaks running around with a bunch of well-meaning do-gooder acolytes. But, you know, you talked about that big study they did, last year now, that came out earlier this year, in Canada, where they're 6 times more likely environmentalists to be criminals because it's rationalized that they can do whatever they want. It's like some type of moral authority thing. Instead of being good in business or good at art or accomplishing something, they like join the cult and then hate everyone, and they're like little priests who are going to go around and basically prosecute us or as heretics in some 21st century persecution. What would the word for it be? The Inquisition.
Yeah, well, there's a famous line from the Club of Rome, which is, "The earth has a cancer, and the cancer is man." Now, if you actually believe, as these watermelons do, these environmentalists, if you believe that mankind really is a cancer on the face of the earth, there is nothing you would not do to save Mother Gaia. And that includes, I suppose, killing people, which is what effectively, when they banned DDT, when Rachel Carson brought the near global ban on DDT, that's essentially what she did to the people who died in the third world. But I don't think that these people are going to become less extreme as time goes by. I think unless we resist them, unless we explain what underlies their thinking, people are going to be carry on being taken in by this lie. You know, the people who are watching Al Gore's 24 Hours of Climate Lies, they're going to believe it, and they are going to persecute dissenting scientists, a bit like Galileo was persecuted by the Catholic Church.
Well, Al Gore is starting, as you know, in his speeches to say, go after people, get in their face. They're like racists that beat black people. And so they really are inciting this. And as you know, in Europe, calling for our arrest and other people's arrest. In closing, you know, I think you really said it earlier. You would listen to my show years ago. I know you're a well-read research guy, and it does sound radical. It does sound insane. But it's not that I'm insane. I have really faced, and you've read their quotes here, what they are, who they are. I've confronted them. I've learned about their philosophy. And it's almost like it's impolite or it sounds wild to come tell the truth. So I understand how we all kind of hold back and it couldn't be that bad. And I'm here to tell people it's worse than we can describe. Because even though we can glimpse how bad these people are, we are not them. I mean, their control freak weirdness is beyond anything we can even grasp. And we must realize that we're not calling for their arrest. We're not calling, you know, even though they're calling for mass murder and all this, we're just saying these are dangerous people and they're calling for our arrest. Folks, these are authoritarians. These are modern Nazis. These are the progeny of every dictator and control freak, strongman cult, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Hitler, Julius Caesar, with a modern weird, ninnying, gibbering, control freak icing on top, and they must be met, they must be faced. These are dangerous people.
Absolutely. Alex, at the risk of being immodest, may I recommend, as a useful primer to what is going on, this book I've written, Watermelons?
Yes, I'll people get it.
it does spell it out. It does explain the origins of this thinking in the Green Movement, how it was that people came to believe the biggest lie, biggest and most expensive lie in human history, how it all started, why the scientists lie, why the businessmen are getting involved, why all these disparate groups from the eco-fascists to big oil are all promoting this great myth.
Hey, I've been to smart growth conferences 12, 14 years ago repeatedly. And you'd go to the Austin Convention Center, lavish, giant full-wall projectors, thousands of city officials, business people, former Dallas Cowboys, and it was all literal. And I have footage of this. I ought to re-air it. A lot of Austinites saw it on Local Access. I've talked to the head of Dell was there. Everybody was rubbing their hands together, cackling about the power grab and the money grab. And that's how they got business on board, is the big banks come in and give you unlimited financing to do this. They don't talk about Mother Earth at these meetings. They talk about, we're taking over. I mean, it is a mafia.
Yeah, it's the corporations. It is about the abolition of the nation state, the abolition of sovereignty, the abolition of individual people's rights. We are being taken over by corporate machines.
That's right. It's a total scam. Crony monopoly people with an army of well-meaning soccer moms and patchouli-wearing hippies marching forward into battle, having no idea what they're getting into. Well, listen, James Delingpole, I really appreciate you joining us, and we've had some victories in the war, but what I've gotten from you is that these are battles. We have not won the war yet, but we have bloodied the dragon and shown that it's not invincible.
Alex, we are going to win because we've got to win, because there is no alternative, because our children and grandchildren will have no future if we do not win.
Absolutely. This is the greatest authoritarian threat the planet has ever faced. Thank you, James Delingpole.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex.
It is a systematic cult of criminals. It is the priest of power. In fact, you printed me the 1984 stuff, John, 2 days ago, and I was going to read it. Will you pull it out of the stack or reprint me that area about the human boot or the boot stomping on the human face forever? I've got to get to that.
You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep crisis. Everyone can feel it. We know a tectonic struggle is now taking place between the forces of freedom and those who love darkness, bondage, and enslavement. Yes, my friends, evil is rising. But take heart. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Recently, New World Order operative Hillary Clinton admitted they're losing the info war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
The globalists are scared. They've overreached. The future of the info war is in your hands. Join prisonplanet.tv. Download the thousands of special video reports, ebooks, and more, and get them out to everyone you know. Continue to spread the word about the broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and every other globalist propaganda platform. We are going to use their system against them. The info war now goes into high gear.